Hi friends, this is a full lore recap focusing on the backstory of every legend in the game, and I'm going to use the story from the Outlands and official canon to keep this as accurate as possible. A lot of you have been asking for this part 2, so here it is. Do check out part 1 if you haven't seen it already. Can I also ask you to consider liking and subscribing if you haven't already? We're on a mission to hit 10k subs. The legends are at the core of the Apex games, and everyone has an interesting and detailed backstory that start way before the games. Meet Dr. Mary Summers, otherwise known as Horizon, an astrophysicist and one of the smartest people you'll ever meet. Horizon's story started almost a century before the games. The Outlands was in the midst of an energy crisis, which put everyone's lives in the Outlands in danger. Mary Summers was seeking to do something about it. Using her knowledge, she went to her friend Lillian Peck about the potential solution to the energy crisis. Lillian set Horizon up in a lab on Olympus to do her research, and this led to Horizon moving to Olympus with her family. This kind of research required lots of money though, so Lillian Peck had to get funding from companies like Chevrix Inc., owned by the Shea family, who are Lifeline's parents, Hammond, and the IMC. With the help of her assistant and friend Dr. Ashley Reed, Horizon was able to research and discover Baranthium, a potential source to limitless energy which would solve the energy crisis. The only thing about Baranthium is that it's hard to find, and in fact can only be found on the acceleration disk of a black hole. So Mary and Dr. Reed departed on a dangerous mission to prove her theory right. Before they departed, Horizon had to say goodbye to her son, whom she loved very much, but she left with a promise that she would one day return to see him. In their space voyage, Horizon was successful in finding and extracting Baranthium in a nearby black hole, with the help of her robot sidekick, Newt, who she named after her son. After sending the Baranthium across to the main ship where Dr. Reed was, things started to go bad for Horizon. Her supposed friend and assistant, Dr. Ashley Reed, ended up betraying her, cutting her off from the main ship and sending her into the black hole's orbit, essentially leading to Dr. Mary Summers getting stuck in the event Horizon. Reed then took off with the Baranthium with no second thoughts of Horizon, which was even more tragic because not only was Reed an assistant and a close friend to Horizon, she was so close that she even babysat Horizon's son. The thing with time in black holes is that it moves differently. Horizon could see the time ticking so much faster in Olympus, while the time for her stranded in the event Horizon was so much slower. Horizon is super smart though, and was able to use her robot companion Newt and a piece of Baranthium to escape. Eventually, Horizon was able to make her way back to Olympus to see her son. Upon returning, she realized it was too late. It was in fact 87 years later, and her son and everyone else she knew was gone. Olympus was a very different place. In joining the games, Dr. Mary Summers' mission is simple: to keep her promise and return to see her son once again, and that motivates her every day in the games. Of course, we do learn later on in future messages that somehow she does make it back to see her son, although at the moment we have no idea how, so that is something we've definitely got to look forward to. Next is Kyrie Imara, callsign Valkyrie, the daughter of a famous apex predator, Viper. As a young girl, Kyrie wanted to be just like her pilot father and become an apex predator. However, her father told her she would never fly a Titan, which he referred to as a death trap. However, Kyrie was not deterred, and one day she ventured into an old shed and found her father's Titan. She decided to take it for a joyride, and after a bit of a stumble, she found she was a natural pilot. She quickly got into trouble while flying the Titan. Not knowing what to do, Kyrie ended up in a freefall towards the ground. Luckily, her father was an amazing pilot, the kind she aspired to be, and was able to save her life. The next day, the one and only Cuban Blisk showed up, calling Viper in for a mission that would see him say goodbye to Kyrie for the last time, for he was to never return. This is all thanks to his encounter with the one Jack Cooper. The good news is Kyrie grew up into a half-decent cargo smuggler and supposedly the best pilot money can buy, according to herself at least. One thing was always on her mind: find the man that got her father killed, Cuban Blisk. Upon finding Blisk through a smuggling job, the two sat down to have a heart-to-heart, of sorts. It ended up with Kyrie pulling out a gun, ready to enact her revenge. But Blisk had other ideas. He challenged her with words instead of violence, and asked her a simple question: is she a pilot, or just the sobbing daughter of one? Kyrie takes little time to think it through though. The Apex Predator card on the table, maybe she had what she really wanted. Of course, before picking up the Apex Predator card, she shoots Blisk's glass, not to kill him, but just to let him know she could have ended it all right there. As she walks off, she also lets it be known that her call sign is Valkyrie. Before entering the games, Valkyrie salvaged her father's Titan and takes it to her friend Rampart to create a modified North Star, set with VTOL jets and a modified core. Valkyrie enters the game with a point to prove and the goal to becoming the pilot she is destined to be, but most of all, to make her father proud. Moving on to Natalie Paquette, otherwise known as Wattson, granddaughter to the heroic geologist Amelie Paquette, who led the team to refine beranthium that saved everyone's lives in the Outlands from an energy crisis. Wattson grew up on Solace. Her mother died when she was a baby, so she was raised by her father, Luke Paquette, a well-known scientist. Together, they lived in Eelhead Bay. Her father was the Apex Games lead electrical engineer after the Syndicate offered him a contract to build the game's power grid. This led to them moving to Kings Canyon to live in a cabin in the mountains above Artillery Base. It was during this time that Wattson's father actually programmed robot Marvins to look after Wattson, kind of acting like her babysitters. Wattson would often study her father's manuals to stay close to him and discovered her calling at a young age. You see, the understanding of electricity grounded her. Its ordered, predictable flow made sense in a way the rest of the world didn't to Wattson. Wattson read every book on the subject, and this led to her becoming an extremely skilled engineer. So skilled in fact that at the age of 15 she cracked the equations to build the closing ring technology. It uses quantum laser mechanics, something called the active denial system, which was invented in the early 21st century as a crowd control device. Wattson hypothesized using bubble shield technology they could have one dome surrounding the whole island and another dome within the first one. You could fill the space between the two shields with waves generated from this active denial system. This was a safe solution for the environment as it would only affect living creatures over time, hence why the ring does what it does today. Wattson even chose the name The Ring, which the Syndicate liked instead of their original plans to call it the Force Field. You know the one in the game that gets smaller and smaller after each round? Well, you do have Wattson to thank for that. Well, technically, I guess you have Blisk to thank for it, because it was his idea initially as a way to stop people camping and creating long, boring games. Don't forget, the point of the Apex games was to be bigger, better, and more fun than the Thunderdome games. A fun fact here: while working on the closing ring technology, Wattson went over to the labs by the Shattered Forest to find the bubble shields she needed to create the closing ring. And that's when she saw Ghost Wraith in Sing Labs. This was something of a joke during Season 5 when Wattson kept teasing Wraith that she saw a ghost.
Look, Wraith, it's where I saw my ghost. So glad you believe me now.
Now that we know the truth, let's keep it to ourselves.
Wraith, we can go say hi to my ghost. Now that you believe me.
Subtle. Let's keep it between us for now.
Another fun fact: the scar on Wattson's face is a Lichtenberg figure caused by high electrical voltage from a lightning bolt that hit Wattson when she was testing the closing ring technology in the Shattered Forest for the first time. And in addition to this, Wattson is the reason the forest was set on fire and looks like it did in early versions of Kings Canyon. It was also at this time Ghost Wraith saved Wattson's life after she was electrocuted. Ghost Wraith literally carried Wattson home to her father's cabin. So you could say Wattson and Wraith were destined to be friends. Unfortunately for Wattson, her father died on the day the technology was revealed, leaving her alone at a young age, with only a letter of her father saying how proud he was of her. In her lowest moment, a group of competitors in the Apex games invited her to be part of their family and compete in the games. In Caustic, she found a fatherly figure to look out for her. With Wraith, she found a best friend she could always confide in. And in Crypto, she found someone she could trust. Interestingly, Blisk was the one who pushed Wattson through the games without even needing to qualify, something of a rarity in the Apex games. You see, Wattson made her father take credit for creating the closing ring technology, and everyone thought it was her father that created it. But Blisk knew the truth, because Wattson's father told him everything. However, he understood why Wattson's father did what he did, and he went along with that lie to honour her father's promise to Wattson to take credit for creating the closing ring technology. Wattson now fights alongside her friend in the arena she helped build, destroying incoming missiles, recharging shields, and creating fences. Nobody knows the arena better than Wattson. Anyone who underestimates her is in for a shock. A few other fun facts. Did you know Wattson built the heat shield technology that we have in the games today? Also, did you know those random Nessies you find around the maps were actually left there by Wattson herself? As Wattson grew up around Kings Canyon, her father hired someone to make a bunch of Nessie dolls for Wattson to play with, and she used to play hide and seek around Kings Canyon with them. And that's why you find them hidden around all of the maps. And if you're wondering where Nessie dolls originate from in Wattson Lore, it turns out Wattson's mother made her a Nessie toy when she was young, and that's why Wattson is so close to Nessie toys. She doesn't remember much about her mother, but that's pretty much all she has. This closes out part 2 of my series on the backstory of every legend in Apex Legends. Don't worry if you want to hear about your favourite legend and they haven't been covered yet, I'm working on part 3 and hope to release that soon, so make sure you like and subscribe. For now though, thank you so much for watching and I'll catch you later.